Dr. Hay.
Hi.
Good to see you today.
Nice to see you too.
Yeah, to kind of explain, I was chosen for the From the Top program, and one of our projects is to engage with one of adult in our life that perhaps shares a different experience with music.
Okay.
And I would like to first, could you introduce yourself, name, pronouns, a little about yourself?
Yep. So my name is Sergia Hay. I'm an instructor of philosophy at Phillips Academy, Andover. I use she, her pronouns. What else?
Great, yeah.
Yeah.
And I know you teach aesthetics, and that deals with art and music and the philosophy behind that. Could you maybe go into a little about what you teach and how that has influenced your experience with music in your life?
Yeah. Good. So I think, all of us can have a story of music that starts very early, maybe even before we know language, right? And for me, there was a lot of music in my house. My grandfather was a pianist and a flautist. My dad really liked jazz and classical music, so there was always music in the house. And I took music lessons as a child all the way through college. So I was involved in chamber music groups and things, and played music at my cousins' weddings and things like that. And then I became kind of intellectually interested in it in graduate school. So studying philosophy, primarily ethics. My dissertation advisor works on the philosophy of music, particularly opera. She does stuff with Schoenberg and with Wagner primarily. And my dissertation topic was on silence. And so for some reason, there was some interesting kind of conceptual overlap with what she was doing in philosophy of music and what I was doing in ethics. And so there was that connection. She taught aesthetics, and she's the first person who taught me. And so now I teach a class on that here at Andover, and we're primarily grappling with questions of what is art, what are works of art, questions of authenticity, so especially in an age of AI, or we can imagine multiple copies of a particular piece of fine art, like a painting, what that means. Also how to deal with controversial art and kind of the ethics around that. So partially having to do with like conceptions of art, but then also looking at some ethical issues involved with art.
Wow.
Yeah.
So interesting. Yeah, today I want to kind of have a conversation, music-wise and with you kind of verbally. I think it's really interesting that you have this philosophical background and approach to music. And for me, I'm a jazz musician, so I like to improvise. And perhaps we can improvise a landscape, soundscape, a story perhaps that we can both build off of.
Okay.
First, I would like to perhaps play a little something. I won't give anything in advance and just let you kind of feel, hear the music, whatever comes to mind, maybe a character, a feeling. You can share maybe afterwards.
Okay. So, in listening to that music, I know a little bit about you, Ethan. And we're in a context of a school, and I know that you have a deep interest in the natural world and the environment. I also have a niece that was just born a week ago.
Oh, wow.
So for me, what it was kind of like a child's first kind of encounter in the natural world. And I think it started out very sweet and simple, and they gained a lot of complexity, right? As I imagined a child kind of exploring their space, right? And just kind of the wonder of it. Right? There were certain kinds of moments too where it opened up and was very expansive. And then there were times that it sounded a little bit troubled, right? Or there was some kind of difficulty in it. So I think there were a lot of things feeding into my listening of that. But yeah.
Wow. So
I always love listening to your music, Ethan. It's great.
Thank you so much. Well, it's so amazing how you I think I had a very similar feeling while playing that for sure. Something about, I think you as a listener invite me as a player to play more openly and more less stressed.
Good.
Thank you for that. And I appreciated that the music reflects perhaps some sort of new being and innocence sort of. I did play a lot of very major kind of chordal shapes that it normally would kind of encapsulate this more happy feeling or innocent feeling. But I'm curious about the troubled feeling that you said. Maybe
there were some moments where there were it would get lower, right? And there might be something that it was still remained harmonious, but it was also there were some notes that were going off the major, right? A little bit. And so there was some kind of change or some kind of challenge or something like that. Which seemed to me to be consistent with the story in my head that I was starting to build about this child in interaction, right? I was thinking about stubbing a toe on a rock or, right, seeing something in the natural world that's surprising that would raise questions about, our coexistence with it.
Maybe could you now, I would like to experiment. I've never tried this actually, but maybe take me through a story, maybe parts of what you just experienced. And then build off of that also from maybe what you're listening in the moment. But maybe we can converse in a musical and kind of narrative dialogue, build a story for maybe this niece, this child, or perhaps something else.
Okay.
Maybe you can begin describing some sort of scene or characteristic, and then just feel free to jump in when I'm playing and just speak about where you feel the story keeps going, and then I think that'll be pretty cool.
Okay. So you want me to speak over your playing?
Yeah, feel free, and if you feel the need to back off, whatever feels right.
Okay. Okay, so maybe we will start with this image of a child exploring the natural world. And it seemed like I had kind of weather in mind, right? That it was kind of sunny, that there might have been insects or something like that are just kind of fascinating to observe. And maybe beyond the insects, looking further into the movement of the clouds. Attention kind of focusing more on a specific thing, like a blade of grass or something that's close at hand. reflection in the puddle. I visually saw like drops of water in the puddle when you were doing that. Yeah, it's great.
I love the incorporation of the puddles. Yeah, I like the rain part felt kind of familiar. Some of my films I like to like that kind of feeling is familiar on the piano, but puddles I've never tried to do, and that unlocked kind of like this kind of chordal thing that I don't usually do. This whole tone scale kind of sound like. And then the puddles, yeah. I almost imagined that kind of replicated this curiosity of looking into the puddle as a child. And there's that like, kind of like maybe jumping from puddles or something. Yeah. What did you feel about that part?
Yes, I like that too. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That's really fun. To think about music that way. I think oftentimes, so last weekend I went to the BSO and they did Sibelius, the First Symphony, and there's so many interesting soundscapes. I'm rarely thinking about a story. I'm usually, even though there's such a kind of dramatic mood shifts in that, I find that I'm just kind of being pulled around sonically, right, by what's taking place, or like a melodic line or something like that. So it's really fun to engage the imagination and think about like, what is it bringing to mind? Because usually for me, it's very abstract rather than some kind of like a concrete feeling or a concrete scene.
Yeah,
right?
For sure.
Oftentimes listening to music, I let my mind wander, and oftentimes we'll take some kind of ambiguous shapes, it feels like, that are kind of beyond words in some sense, right? But it's fun to do this where there's imagery and there's something kind of concrete attached to it.
Do you feel like your relationship to perhaps nature is kind of similar in that manner?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like kind of almost unable to be described with words. It's like a fluid thing, and yet like in this world we kind of have to describe such things with words, and I think it's like, I don't know if it limits or maybe perhaps allows us to create even more things.
Yeah.
Like today,
I think like in your opening piece and in this one too, kind of this sense of wonder that I think is really kind of consistent with my experience in the natural world. And again, wonder isn't the full word for it, right? I think in your music there's something more expressive in that, in terms of all the different kinds of things that can entail. Yeah.
What if we try one more experiment where you just say one word each time.
Okay.
And then that word kind of, similar to last time, build off of the story, but it's just this one word that might limit the story or might just be very open line.
Okay.
And this time, I'll just start, and whatever story you imagine, kind of, that helps you choose words.
Okay. Goodbye.
What kind of sparked those words, do you think?
I think when you started, the rhythm just felt very ambulatory to me.
Yeah.
It just made my body feel like it was gonna move,
Mm.
right?
Yeah, and when you said walking, I tried to start walking almost literally on my left hand for like a bass, like in jazz where you have that trio setting.
Yeah.
Sometimes when the bass isn't there, pianists like to get the bass by. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah, awesome.
Well, thank you so much for your time. Just
Yeah.
for a little feedback, like what did you feel like perhaps was new today that you've never experienced before?
Yeah, I think, what I had said a little bit earlier after our mutual improvisation is that I rarely think of storylines and thinking kind of a beginning, middle, end to the piece. I'm usually feeling like I'm carried away by sound, like the oral experience of it, rather than kind of turning inward and being really conscious of my like kind of like story making ability during the piece itself, right? To imagine a scene or individuals within that scene, right? Whether they're human or not, right? Just thinking about like creating a story and that kind of deliberative process during listening.
Wow. Yeah, for me, I think like storytelling was almost something that a teacher told me to do back in the day when I was learning violin. I think before that, I approached music quite just notes on a page kind of thing. And just my violin teacher telling me to imagine like fairies dancing, I think that unlocked something in my own ability to express stories in music. And it's very interesting that you kind of have a different experience with storytelling and music, and just very glad I was able to hear your thoughts today.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hay. This is our one-on-one community engagement project. Hope you enjoyed, and much thanks to Dr. Hay. Thank you.
Thanks.